5.
This is the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite. And tonight, Campaign 80, an interview with Republican candidate Congressman Philip Crane on the issues.
Good evening. The United States took yet another approach today in the hopes of ending the hostage impasse in Iran. It called on the International Court of Justice in The Hague to demand the release of the hostages. In Tehran, the militants occupying the embassy said they would try their hostages for espionage sooner than they'd planned if the Shah leaves the United States for anywhere but Iran. And his doctors in New York say the Shah is free now to check out at any time, and it's known he's planning to return to Mexico. Back in Iran, the new foreign minister, Sadegh Khatibzadeh, didn't leave much room for optimism that a solution is in sight, as Tom Fenton reports.
Iran's new foreign minister was questioned by newsmen tonight after a meeting of the Revolutionary Council.
Did you find any indication of that in President Carter's speech today, that he was seeking a political solution? Any softening in the United States approach?
Well, it wasn't softening and it wasn't hardening either, so therefore the situation is static.
One last question. Some Americans are characterizing you as a hardliner. Is that fair?
Well, I'm a nice guy.
In the opinion of those who know him personally, Khatibzadeh is a moderate who will nevertheless faithfully execute the decisions of Ayatollah Khomeini. His closeness to Khomeini and his control of the state radio and television make him one of the most influential members of the Revolutionary Council.
What we are saying is simply this. Yes, the lives and the comfort of the 49 Americans who are here are important. We realize it. But our sentiment is important as well. So turn the Shah back and let's finish with this once and for all.
In a television address tonight, Khomeini said President Carter is afraid to send the deposed Shah back to Iran to stand trial because the trial would reveal information that would lead the American people to put Mr. Carter on trial. Khomeini spent the day in his small home in the holy city of Qum, where thousands of faithful Muslims waited in vain for a glimpse of him. One of those who did see him was Ayatollah Khamenei, former head of the revolutionary courts which have sentenced more than 600 persons to death. Khamenei said he did not expect the Shah to be sent back to Iran, and that although he expected the American hostages to be tried, he hoped that they would be found innocent and not convicted of spying. Khamenei said he believed that those who were spies may have already left the country. In Tehran, there was a huge demonstration. Hundreds of thousands of persons turned out for the 9th day of the holy month of Muharram, a time of mourning and intense religious devotion for Shiite Muslims. The faithful beat themselves in a symbolic act of solidarity with Muslim martyrs. The mood today in Iran, like the weather, was somber. Tom Fenton, CBS News, Tehran.
In an interview today with the Public Broadcasting Service, Khatibzadeh said Iran's Revolutionary Council would meet tomorrow to decide whether he'll attend Saturday night's UN Security Council meeting in New York. And he said today's U.S. appeal to the World Court was a funny thing, remarking that all international agencies are under the thumb of the United States. In its appeal, the United States is asking the court to demand the immediate release of the hostages and to find Iran guilty of violating international law. A court spokesman said it will be next week at the earliest before the 15 judges can be assembled to hear the appeal. A court decision in favor of the United States would help in the matter of public opinion, but the court established by the UN has no means of enforcing its decision. In its petition to the World Court, the State Department revised the number of American hostages in the Tehran embassy from 49 to 50. Apparently, until now, it had not counted an American businessman, Jerry Plotkin of California, although it's been known for some time that he was among the hostages. Iran's leader, Ayatollah Khomeini, urged all Muslim oil-producing countries today to use their oil as a weapon against the United States. He said that some Arab leaders who now support the United States might face the same fate as the deposed Shah at the hands of their own people if they don't start supporting Iran.
Because the wine remembers, we use only rare European oak to gentle and mature our Chardonnay wine. Here at the winery of Ernest and Giulio Gallo, we're cradling our Chardonnay in these handmade casks until the day the winemaker judges it ready for release. Every step we take with care, because the wine remembers.
I just discovered Common Sense.
The new Common Sense microwave from Magic Chef.
It cooks my big family-sized meals fast. Meat, potatoes, and vegetable. And Magic Chef designed it to cook by itself. But best of all, it's so simple. Even Jack can use it.
It just takes common sense, Barbara.
Common Sense from Magic Chef. The best there is in cooking for a long time to come.
A panel of 3 federal judges today named a Republican former U.S. attorney to investigate allegations that White House Chief of Staff Hamilton Jordan used cocaine at a New York discotheque. Fred Graham has that story.
The special prosecutor will be Arthur Christie, a 56-year-old Manhattan lawyer who once prosecuted mafia chieftains Frank Costello and Vito Genovese. Jordan will be investigated specifically about allegations that in 1978 he sniffed cocaine at the Manhattan discotheque Studio 54. The owners, Ian Schrager and Steve Robel, made the charges when they were plea bargaining in an unrelated tax case. Jordan has denied ever using cocaine. The call for a special prosecutor came from Attorney General Benjamin Civiletti, who said he thought the charges were unsubstantiated, but that the new Ethics in Government Act required a special prosecutor whenever further investigation is warranted. The problem stems from the testimony of Jan Tyler, Jordan's date on the night of the Studio 54 incident, plus a number of other potential witnesses, all of whom refused to testify unless subpoenaed. Because only a special prosecutor has the power to issue subpoenas, Civiletti said one should be appointed to obtain these witnesses' testimony. In a report to the special 3-judge court that selected Christie to be the special prosecutor, Civiletti said that there was no need for the special prosecutor to investigate other allegations that Jordan sniffed cocaine in Los Angeles during a series of parties in 1977 and during another alleged occasion in 1978 that had not been publicly disclosed until today and which was not further described. The Attorney General stressed that charges could be brought against the Studio 54 owners if the special prosecutor concludes that they were lying, and the Justice Department claimed that Christie will have the power only to investigate Jordan on the Studio 54 allegations. But Special Prosecutor Christie was vague as to how far his investigation might go.
I said that the mandate is to conduct an investigation into the allegations that have been made against Mr. Jordan. That's it.
Jordan, who will stay as White House Chief of Staff, said he's gratified that Civiletti found the charges unsubstantiated, regrets that the special prosecutor had to be appointed anyway, and will cooperate with the investigation. The First Lady said the President's family stands behind Jordan.
I think he's one of the nicest young men I have ever known, and I have never known him to do things that he shouldn't do, that wrong. He's like one of my family.
President Carter's comment about Jordan was, "He will tell the truth as my wife would or my children." Fred Graham, CBS News at the White House.
A federal judge in Topeka has reopened a case that led to one of the most significant rulings in Supreme Court history, Brown versus the Board of Education, the 1954 decision outlawing school segregation. The judge said there should be a court review of the complaint of a group of black parents that the Topeka schools are not complying with the original integration ruling. Among those parents is Linda Brown Smith, who as a child was the plaintiff for whom the case was named. A majority of the Senate Armed Services Committee reportedly is prepared to recommend that the Strategic Arms Limitation Treaty not be ratified. A report drafted by the majority says SALT II is unfair, unverifiable, and not in the national security interests. President Carter talked about the treaty at a White House meeting today, but was interrupted by a demonstrator. Robert Pierpoint reports.
It was a routine briefing in the East Room on the SALT II treaty for community leaders from Michigan, Indiana, and Iowa. President Carter had just arrived at the podium.
I know you've had...
Friends, SALT II is alive, and we're developing first-rate capabilities.
As the Secret Service moved in to remove the anti-nuclear demonstrator, he dumped ashes on the floor, claiming they represented those who had died in nuclear explosions. But the president kept his composure.
I won't ask what state he's from.
It turned out he's Frank Cordero, a 28-year-old Catholic activist who has a long record of arrests for demonstrations at the Pentagon, Internal Revenue Service, and elsewhere.
I bet he's not from Iowa, Michigan, Indiana, or Georgia.
But the president was wrong about that. Cordero is a member of the Catholic workers community in Des Moines, Iowa. He had received a mailgram invitation to the White House. Mr. Carter then moved on to his standard speech in support of the SALT II treaty. Administration officials now concede SALT II may not pass the Senate this year because of the Iran crisis. But President Carter still wants it brought to the Senate floor, hoping for passage next year instead. Robert Pierpoint, CBS News at the White House.
By a 10-5 vote, the Senate Banking Committee today set aside the administration's $1.5 billion federal loan guarantee program for Chrysler. Instead, it agreed to consider a harsher compromise measure that would require a 3-year wage freeze for Chrysler management and labor. The Commerce Department reports that the U.S. trade deficit narrowed to $2 billion in October, in spite of a record $6 billion bill for foreign oil. Social Security Commissioner Stanford Ross, who's resigning next month, had some hard words today about the Social Security system. He said people must understand that it's not a pension plan by which people eventually receive benefits according to their payments. Instead, he said it should be recognized as a tax on all for benefits that particularly aid low-income workers. He said the system must change because with an aging population, all the benefits previously promised can't be delivered without ever higher taxes. The stock market today was up in active trading.
That's one reason Century Insurance built the Century Laboratories, to help our customers avoid trouble.
Like fires?
Like lots of things.
They have as many tests as we do.
Century works hard at helping our customers do things more safely.
Your customers must like that.
And it helps attract new customers. Century likes that.
The Century family of companies for all your insurance needs.
For centuries, women have impatiently waited for the men they loved to return from the sea. At Christmas time, there's no better way to express that love than a gift of Old Spice. Old Spice, fresh, clean, masculine, sensual. A wonderful gift for a man, a wonderful way to please a woman. This Christmas, give Old Spice to someone you love.
An Air New Zealand official said today the pilot of that sightseeing plane apparently made a navigational error, and that sent the DC-10 crashing into the slope of an Antarctic volcano. 257 persons were killed in yesterday's crash, including 21 Americans. A polar blizzard already has blanketed much of the wreckage and many of the bodies. An advanced team of 3 mountaineers called the crash site a hellhole. The tragedy occurred, as Charles Crawford reports, on the anniversary eve of a great Antarctic adventure.
A sled and dog team, one of the last here on the ice, and a living reminder of the kind of transportation used by men like Robert Scott, who in 1912 died trying to explore this lost continent. That was the heroic age. Then on November the 29th, 50 years ago, the beginning of a new era, the scientific investigation of Antarctica. Locked in ice, the continent at the bottom of the Earth is a place of beauty and terror. Temperatures of minus 120 degrees have been recorded here, and winds have been clocked at more than 100 miles an hour. It's the size of the United States and Europe combined. Buried under 5.5 million square miles of ice, only 2% of the land is visible. These mountains are 13,000 feet high. Only at the edges of this land is there life. Curious creatures, often unafraid of man. Perhaps it's the same curiosity displayed by the emperor penguin that brought man to Antarctica. Men like Commander Richard Byrd and his second-in-command, geologist Lawrence Gould. Through the polar winter of '29, they struggled against the elements, planning and preparing for the first flight to the South Pole. Gould's mission, to run ahead with dog teams for the first 400 miles, scouting the way and reporting back by hand-cranked radio.
We were giving frequent weather reports, and on the 28th, I still remember the message I sent back. The weather is perfect, there are no clouds ahead, this looks like the day.
For nearly 10 hours, the Ford trimotor struggled, at times close to disaster, because Byrd refused to compromise the scientific goals of the flight.
It wasn't just a flight over the South Pole. Dick Byrd was very anxious that it should be more than that. The problems they had getting over the mountains was the weight. And instead of throwing out the aerial photographer and the cameras and so on, they threw out all of their food.
At 1:14 a.m., November 29th, Byrd announced he had reached the South Pole. 50 years later, we can do what Byrd could not, land. Ceremonial flags mark the spot, but against the wind-swept desolation, the flags, mirrored globe, and striped pole seem almost trite. Close by, a modern geodesic dome houses the U.S. scientific team in search of secrets 25 million years old.
The idea of trying to understand why this glacier moves fast and that one doesn't, what's under an ice shelf that nobody's looked under before, charting in the really enormous winds that develop on some parts of the continent. I think this just appeals to the explorer in everybody.
Byrd spent nearly $1 million to fly over the pole. This year, the U.S. will spend $55 million in support of nearly 100 scientific projects in Antarctica.
Was it all worth it? Is it worth what we've spent down there?
Of course it's worth it. It's worth it. It isn't urgency that makes us do worthwhile things, it's curiosity. Man wants to know, and when he ceases to want to know, he's no longer man.
Charles Crawford, CBS News, Antarctica.
Pope John Paul II celebrated his first Mass in Muslim Turkey today. He received a warm welcome from the Patriarch of the Eastern Orthodox Church, Demetrius I, as he arrived in Istanbul for talks on reuniting the two churches. It was almost 1,000 years ago that they split over the principle of papal primacy. But today the Pope sang a Mass at Istanbul's Roman Catholic Cathedral and said, "The third millennium of Christianity is at the gates. Make it one of unity." Food supplies are reaching Cambodia all right, but it appears most of them are getting no farther than warehouses in Phnom Penh. A top State Department official is reported as saying that of the 13,000 tons of American relief supplies sent in so far, possibly 10,000 tons are still in warehouses and not reaching the people. In a minute, we'll be back with an interview with Philip Crane as part of our series on the candidates and the issues of Campaign 80.
The most beautiful thing in the world is a child's wish to know. That's the simple idea behind the learning aids and the learning center of Texas Instruments, where lights and voices,
that is correct,
turn learning to excitement, where educators help in the creation, and where growing and growing wonder are the products. From the innovators in learning aids and calculators, Texas Instruments. Because once a child enjoys learning, there's no end in sight.
All of these make popcorn the same way. Now West Bend offers you a better way, the revolutionary Stir Crazy. The West Bend Stir Crazy's amazing automatic stirring action heats each kernel evenly to give it a bigger pop. The result? Bigger, fluffier popcorn, up to 25% more from the same amount of kernels. Hot, buttered, delicious. Stir Crazy, the better way to pop popcorn, made only by West Bend.
The conservatives, those people who embrace the conservative philosophy, represent the overwhelming majority of the Republican Party.
Philip Crane says a conservative tide is rising, a tide he wants to ride. He's young, square-jawed, telegenic, but his campaign stressed issues over image. For in 10 years as a congressman from the Chicago suburbs, he's established himself as a pure conservative. His voting record rates a perfect 100% from the American Conservative Union. He becomes a yardstick against which to measure the 6 major Republican candidates who are called conservatives. Some Republicans say his pressure will keep Ronald Reagan from drifting to the middle. Others say he'll make Reagan look more moderate. Whatever the case, Crane was campaigning through the snows of New Hampshire a year before the primary. Knowing he was a long shot, he became the first announced candidate. In his view of government, leadership means inspiring people to believe in their own capability.
government does nothing well. Now, that's a self-evident truth. Then why is it we have succumbed to this notion that every time we define a problem, we should think in terms of a government solution?
On special domestic issues, Crane is indeed the pure conservative. For school prayer, against abortion, against ERA, against gun control, against any major federal aid for education. Only Ronald Reagan is in agreement on all these stands. Like Reagan, Crane loves to attack national health insurance.
Why would anyone entrust anything so precious as his health or that of a loved one to the same people that gave us the post office and Amtrak? I'll tell you where we've got some national health insurance legislation already on the books. American Indians have always enjoyed it. Worst health care statistics you can find in the part of any segment of our population.
Crane calls attention to himself with a unique plan to get government departments out of Washington. Agriculture would go to Iowa, Social Security to Florida, and so on, until Washington was left with only state, defense, justice, and treasury. To fight inflation, Crane aims at a balanced budget like all the other Republicans, but his emphasis is on growth and a ceiling for government spending.
I would argue that with some alterations of the tax law, some restraint in the growth of government, you're moving dramatically toward the elimination of inflation. You're restoring the incentives for saving. You're restoring the incentives for productivity with, again, major tax cuts, alterations of the tax law to recreate the incentives for growth.
Must Americans learn to live with less?
I don't believe so, no. They may choose to. But we've got to guarantee that that's a matter of personal choice. And I think we can do that by preserving a growth-oriented economy, and that means expanded opportunities. I think it means reduced taxes. I think it means elimination of a lot of taxes. I think it means introducing considerably more rationality into regulation. I mean, government has a role, to prevent us from committing trespass, but we've just gone berserk.
On energy, Crane, like all the conservatives, wants decontrol of oil prices, but is opposed to a windfall profits tax on oil company profits, a view shared by Reagan and Connally, opposed by Baker, Bush, and Dole.
If one looks at the profit picture for the big oil companies, most of that came from beyond our shores. So if they're going to be penalized with higher taxes for what they develop here at home, what's it have to do? It's going to push them even more and more beyond our shores, and they'll be operating in countries that may go the way of Iran. Who knows?
The field divides the same way on Crane's position that the Department of Energy be abolished. But it's on foreign policy that Crane says his conservatism runs strongest. Crane says he cannot conceive of an arms agreement both he and the Russians could accept. All the others say they would try to get an arms treaty. All have reservations about SALT II.
The United States is capable of military superiority, and therefore I don't think we can afford not to be militarily superior.
Philip Crane, another in our series of candidates and the issues.
Hi, how are you today?
Worried. I've got a Christmas gift problem.
Gifts are easy at Hickory Farms. Relax. Try our beef stick.
Very nice.
We've got gift packs with beef stick and cheese too, like Smoky Bar. You tell us your gift problems, Hickory Farms will solve them.
Oh, well, I have quite a few.
We'll even send your gifts.
No, thanks. I'll deliver them myself.
Christmas gifts that are sure to please the Super Chase Market.
When you shoot a lot of pool and bars, you want to stay fast and loose, and you don't want to get filled up. That's why I drink light beer from Miller. It's got a third less calories than their regular beer, and it's less filling. Plus, the taste is great. And even though a lot of people don't think pool is strenuous, let me tell you something. You can work up a real good thirst, even when you're just showing off.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
A late report from the UPI news agency in Tehran tonight says the Ayatollah Khomeini has called for President Carter and his predecessors to stand trial for, quote, crimes committed by them as accomplices of the Shah. Presumably, those predecessors would be former Presidents Ford and Nixon. There was no indication of whether or not this is a new condition of Khomeini's for release of the hostages. Church bells ring wildly in celebration of great joy. The bells ring somberly on occasions of mourning. But today across this land, the bells told a different message. Charles Osgood reports from New York.
In Tehran, for 26 days, the symbols have been those of insult and anger. But inside the embassy, one of the hostages has asked for Americans to pray for the safe return of those being held, and that church bells back home ring out as a symbol of that hope. And so today at high noon, in cities and towns across America, there was an expression not of anger or frustration, but of hope. And it took the form not of words, but of bells. Wrote about bells. Ring in the nobler modes of life with sweeter manners, purer laws. Ring in the valiant man and free, the larger heart, the kindlier hand. This today was America's symbol.
And that's the way it is. Thursday, November 29th, 1979. This is Walter Cronkite, CBS News. Good night.
For my headaches, I need a special pain reliever.
All you need is Bayer aspirin.
Really?
If you need more than Bayer, see your doctor. Bayer aspirin is not 80, not 90. It's 100% pure pain reliever. Bayer adds nothing because you don't need anything else. And millions use Bayer with no stomach upset. All you need is Bayer aspirin. If you need more than Bayer, see your doctor.
All I need is Bayer.
When you go to buy an Amana radar range microwave oven, just remember, all microwave ovens are not alike. For example, these Amana radar range ovens have an exemption from the federal regulation requiring a safety warning label. No other company in the world can make this claim. After tests like this, and this, there was no leakage in excess of federal standards. Amana radar range, the first microwave oven with a memory, now with rotowave cooking system. If it doesn't say Amana, it's not a radar range.
This has been the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite. The news never stops, and neither does CBS. For up-to-the-minute coverage of world and national news around the clock, stay with CBS News, the most respected news team in broadcasting.
I'm Bob Schieffer. Each day and each night brings new developments in the crisis in Iran. We'll have the latest news on that crisis here on Friday morning.
Tomorrow on CBS.
A 5-year-old city building is falling apart. We'll have details next on Eyewitness News.
I can just about taste those hot and crispy fries.
But don't you eat runners?
Me?
Where are my Hardee's fries?
Hardee's, best eaten in town.